a tiny molecule made from just 4 building blocks. It comes from a gland buried deep in the middle of your brain, and some people believe it can slow down aging itself, even switch the clocks inside your cells back on. So, what is Epitalon? And why has one Russian scientist spent his entire career insisting it can buy you more time? The story starts with a gland most people never think about, the pineal gland. It sits deep in the center of your brain, about the size of a single grain of rice. For centuries, nobody knew what it was for. The philosopher Descartes once called it the seat of the soul. We now know something less mystical. It mostly makes melatonin, the hormone that helps run your sleep. But one scientist wondered if it did more than that. His name is Vladimir Kavinsin, a Russian researcher who leads the St. Petersburg Institute of Bioregulation and Gerontology. Back in the Soviet era, Kavinsin and his colleagues began pulling short peptides out of animal glands. Peptides are just tiny chains of amino acids. Think of them as very short words, written in the same alphabet your body uses to build proteins. From the pineal gland, they made an extract they called epithalomine. Then they simplified it down to just 4 amino acids: alanine, glutamic acid, aspartic acid, glycine. They called that little chain Epitalon, and here is where the claims get big. Kavinsin's team proposed that these peptides act like switches, that each one can tell certain genes to turn on. If aging happens partly because your body stops making these signals, then maybe you could put them back. That was the idea. Now, most of this research is exciting on paper. The question is how strong the evidence really is. Let's talk about the study people quote the most. In 2003, Kavinsin, along with Bondarev and Butyugov, published a paper in the Bulletin of Experimental Biology and Medicine. They took human cells grown in a dish, fetal fibroblasts, a common type of skin-building cell. Normally, these cells can only divide a limited number of times. Then they stop. They age. They quit. That limit is tied to something called telomeres. Picture the plastic tips on the ends of your shoelaces. Telomeres are the caps on the ends of your chromosomes. Every time a cell divides, those caps get a little shorter. When they wear down, the cell stops dividing. Kavinsin's team reported something remarkable. When they added Epitalon to the dish, the cells switched on an enzyme called telomerase. Telomerase rebuilds those caps. The treated cells kept dividing longer than they should have. By their measure, the cells lived meaningfully past their usual limit. In a dish, Epitalon appeared to wind the clock back. That sounds like science fiction, and it's a real, published result. But here's the part the internet tends to skip. A cell in a plastic dish is not a human being. Lots of compounds do dramatic things in a dish and nothing useful in a body. So the honest question is, what happened in people? And this is where the story gets thinner. Kavinsin's group also ran long studies in older Russian patients. They reported that annual courses of these pineal peptides were linked to better health markers over night-9 tunit, as opposed like a piles that hang up, a piles plate white, and even lower death rates over many years. Those numbers get repeated everywhere. But almost all of that human research comes from the same institute, the same country, often the same team. Very little of it has been independently repeated by outside labs in large, modern, blinded trials. That doesn't make it fake. It makes it unconfirmed. And in science, those are very different words. There's another catch worth saying out loud. Epitalon is not an approved medicine, not by the United States Food and Drug Administration, not by Health Canada. It's sold online as a research chemical and an unregulated supplement, which means what's in the vial may not match the label. This is a science story. It is not medical advice. No dosing, no sourcing, no how-to here. Just the honest state of the evidence. So let's separate the two things people keep blending together. There is the biology, which is genuinely interesting. The idea that a 4-amino acid peptide could touch telomerase is a real, testable hypothesis. And then there is the hype. The videos promising you can reverse aging from a vial you bought on the internet. One of those is a laboratory finding. The other is a sales pitch. So, can Epitalon really give you more time? The truthful answer is, nobody has proven it in people. What we have is a bold idea, a striking result in a dish, decades of Russian data that outside scientists still haven't confirmed, and a whole lot of marketing that ran far ahead of the proof. Sometimes, the most interesting molecules are the ones still stuck between the laboratory and the pharmacy. The next time someone tells you a peptide from your brain can rewind aging, remember this. A promising result in a dish is a beginning. It is not a finish line, but that's only the surface of it. Because the real question isn't whether Epitalon lengthens a telomere in a jar, it's whether telomeres are even the true clock of aging, or just one hand on a much stranger dial. And that answer pulls in far more than one Russian gland. It's the one we'll open up next. Thanks for watching Brainstorm Bob. If this made you think, hit subscribe for more curiosity, ideas, and real answers. See you in the next one.